What's that big goal you're aiming for in your career? The ultimate achievement.
That's the key question, isn't it?
But then the follow-up is, do you actually have a clear roadmap to get there?
Ambition's one thing, but having that path, that's crucial.
Absolutely. And look, we know digging through piles of business books takes time. So we've sort of done that heavy lifting for you.
Yeah, pulled out the core ideas from some really influential ones.
Think of it as maybe an accelerated path to some really valuable knowledge.
Getting decades of insights without, reading every single word.
So our aim today is pretty straightforward. Find those positive ideas, those actionable strategies that can really boost your professional growth and hopefully lead to more fulfillment too.
We're looking at some foundational books here, ones that have really shaped business thinking.
Right. And these aren't just theories, they're practical tools you can actually use.
Stuff you can apply, like tomorrow.
We know you want those aha moments, that real understanding, but without getting bogged down. And hey, if you want to go even deeper, check out Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, that's a great resource.
It uses AI to analyze a lot of these books we're touching on. Really good for sparking your own reflection, your own critical thinking about these concepts.
It's all about empowering you to take these ideas and, make them your own.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, a concept that might change how you feel about work itself. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's book, Flow.
Flow. The psychology of optimal experience.
Exactly. He talks about flow, those moments of intense focus where you're so absorbed, time just disappears and you're really achieving something.
That in the zone feeling.
Yeah. And he suggests maybe if our jobs were structured more like games, we'd find flow more often.
That's an interesting angle.
Think about surgeons. They have super clear goals, right? Fix the patient, they get immediate feedback, vital signs, what's happening right there.
Constant feedback loop.
Plus, intense challenges, distractions blocked out, and obviously really high stakes. It demands total focus.
Yeah, the structure facilitates that flow state.
And Csikszentmihalyi's big point isn't just productivity. He argues those flow states are actually periods of real happiness.
So it connects performance to well-being. That's powerful.
Okay, so building on that idea of a clear mind, that focus, like athletes in the zone, let's turn to David Allen's book, Getting Things Done.
GTD. A classic for personal effectiveness.
Right. It kind of provides the how-to for achieving that mental clarity we were just talking about with flow.
Exactly. Allen gives you the practical system, the processes to clear your head, which, makes it easier to actually get into flow. Less mental clutter.
Now let's bring in a giant, Peter Drucker. His book, The Effective Executive.
Drucker's foundational. So many core ideas.
He covers so much ground managing time, focusing on strengths, understanding your contribution, concentration, decision-making.
And that focus on strengths is key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Drucker really pushed that. Leverage what you're truly good at.
Even if it means, accepting weaknesses elsewhere. His point was that extraordinary results come from extraordinary strengths.
Right. Don't try to be average at everything. Maximize the peaks.
And he was clear, contribution is the measure. Not just being busy, but what results are you actually delivering?
That forces a different kind of thinking, doesn't it? About effectiveness over just activity.
Definitely. And his take on decisions, I found this really practical. He basically said a decision is just an intention until someone is assigned responsibility.
Yeah, without ownership, it just floats away. That's so true in organizations.
That clear accountability, often the missing piece.
Totally.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From external effectiveness to more internal stuff. Brené Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection.
Brené Brown. Her work on vulnerability, connection.
Yeah, she looks at disconnection and talks about wholehearted living as the way forward.
And what's amazing is the research behind it. She didn't just dream this up.
Right, it came from interviews, didn't it? Thousands of them.
Over 10,000 people, over a decade. She was digging into their stories, looking for patterns.
Trying to understand what fosters connection versus what holds us back.
And finding that embracing imperfection, vulnerability, that's central to living a connected life.
Really powerful stuff. Okay, next up, Stephen Covey. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Another cornerstone book. So many takeaways.
Absolutely. But let's focus on one specific habit, empathic listening.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood. That one.
That's the one. But specifically the technique he describes. Rephrase the content and reflect the feeling.
That's subtle but powerful. It's not just repeating words back.
Exactly. It shows you get both the what and the how they feel about it. Covey says it fundamentally changes conversation.
You can see how vital that is for, leadership, teamwork,
Yeah.
actually understanding people.
He also touches on presenting ideas effectively, ethos, pathos, logos, and the need to recharge.
Yes, sharpen the saw.
Yeah.
The renewal habit.
Right. Exercise, reading, journaling, meditation, whatever works for you. Having that energy fuels everything else.
That idea of holistic well-being keeps coming up, doesn't
Yeah.
it? You need that foundation.
Absolutely. Okay, now, navigating tricky situations. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Still relevant after all these years.
Timeless wisdom on dealing with people.
Let's imagine a scenario. A customer, let's call him John, is upset. His shipment is late, understandably frustrated.
We've all been there, on one side or the other.
Carnegie gives us a toolkit. First, use their name, Mr. John. Second, apologize sincerely. Third, admit any mistake immediately.
Takes the wind out of their sails sometimes, just owning it.
Right, then let them vent. Really let them get it all out. And then empathy. Say something like, Mr. John, I totally get why you feel that way. If I were you, I'd feel exactly the same.
That validation is huge. I don't blame you one iota. That kind of phrasing.
Exactly, the core principle. Make the other person feel important, feel heard.
It works because it taps into basic human needs. Respect, acknowledgement.
Okay, switching gears again. Intuition. Gary Klein's book, The Power of Intuition.
Interesting topic. People often think intuition is like magic.
Right. But Klein argues it's not. It comes from recognizing patterns, often unconsciously, based on accumulated experience.
So it's grounded in reality and learning, not some mystical sixth sense.
He talks about our brains developing action scripts, and the book actually has decision games to help you sharpen that skill.
Practicing those quick judgments in a safe space.
Especially useful in business, where you often need quick, good decisions. So even gut feelings are often rooted in deep experience.
Yeah, expertise becoming almost automatic, built over time.
Now, a more existential question. Paul Bronson's book, What Should I Do With My Life?
Oof, big question.
It really is. The book tells stories of people who dared to be really honest with themselves about their path, their career.
And Bronson puts himself in there too, right? Shares his own journey.
Yeah, that makes it feel very relatable, very human. Not just advice from on high. It's about people searching for meaning, for purpose in their work.
It really pushes you to have that internal conversation. What do I really want? What matters to me?
Essential questions. Okay, for anyone starting something new, a job, a role, Michael Watke's book, The First 90 Days, is key.
Oh, yeah. Crucial reading for transition.
It's all about how fast you learn and adapt in those first 3 months. That period often sets the tone.
Totally. Get it right, and you build momentum. Get it wrong. It's tough to recover.
Watkins gives practical advice. Talk to insiders and outsiders, build your network of advisors quickly, and be aware of who might not be supportive.
It's very strategic. How to hit the ground running effectively.
Now, for something maybe unexpected, Dr. Seuss, All the Places You'll Go.
Love that one. Seems like a kid's book, but
it's got such a deep message, right? About hope, motivation, navigating the ups and downs.
absolutely. The waiting place, the slumps. It covers it all, but always with that undercurrent of optimism. Keep going.
It's a great reminder that challenges are part of the journey, but perseverance and hope are essential. Okay, shifting to leadership specifically. Warren Bennis, on becoming a leader.
Bennis had a really interesting take. He saw leadership less as a set of skills learned in training.
And more as self-invention, is that right?
Yeah, self-invention through character, through vision, knowing yourself deeply.
He interviewed nearly 30 leaders, drew on his own experiences.
And concluded that great leaders can access and express their true selves. It connects to humanistic psychology, that idea of authenticity.
Authenticity as a leadership trait. That resonates.
Definitely a recurring theme.
Okay, let's go back a bit. Robert Townsend's up the organization from the late 60s, but wow, still feels fresh.
Oh, Townsend was way ahead of his time. Human-centered management, anti-hierarchy.
Yeah, he pushed for innovation, empowering people at all levels to make decisions.
Things we talk about now as if they're new ideas.
His writing is so punchy, little gems like celebrate screw-ups, learn from them, or fire the whole personnel department.
Yeah, pretty radical. Empower the managers directly.
And thanks is a really neglected form of compensation. So simple, so true.
And promotions needing careful planning like surgery. His belief in people's potential was just foundational.
A very different vibe from traditional command and control.
Absolutely. Very forward-thinking.
Michael Useem's book, The Leadership Moment, shows leadership can pop up anywhere.
Right, not just in the corner office. And it often requires quick rapport, decisive action.
He uses great stories, like Roy Vagelo's at Merck tackling river blindness.
Yeah, that's a powerful example. Leadership serving something bigger than just profits shows the potential impact, that ethical dimension, that purpose-driven leadership. Very inspiring.
Then there's the Leadership Challenge by Kouzes and Posner, a very research-based.
Grounded in thousands of case studies, right, of people's personal best leadership moments.
Exactly. They identified 5 core practices: model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process.
Enable others to act and encourage the heart.
Right. It provides a really solid framework for thinking about leadership behaviors.
Very practical. Things you can actually work on.
Max Dupree's book, Leadership is an Art. This one feels more philosophical, maybe.
Yeah, definitely more reflective. Dupree talks about the leader's core responsibilities.
Which are?
To define reality clearly for the team. To always say thank you, that gratitude piece again. And in between.
To be a servant and a debtor. Wow.
Yeah, servant leadership. Indebted to the team's contributions. He suggests it's a book to help you find yourself as a leader or the leader you want to be.
That's deep. It emphasizes nurturing people, upholding values.
That's much as strategy and operations, yeah.
Okay, let's jump to Steve Farber's The Radical Leap. More high energy.
Extreme leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And the OSM, the O shirt moment.
Mean there.
Meaning, if you're not having those moments occasionally, you're probably not pushing boundaries hard enough, not doing something truly significant. He presents it as fiction, which makes it engaging.
And his framework is LEAP.
Right. Cultivate love, generate energy, inspire audacity, provide proof. It's about bold, passionate leadership.
Very different feel from Dupree, but also about impact.
Different styles, same goal. Making a difference.
Now, a look at transformation. Control your destiny or someone else will. About Jack Welch at GE.
Tichy and Sherman, yeah. A classic case study in radical change.
It even includes Welch's letters, a handbook for revolutionaries, really pushing leaders to drive change.
Shows that willingness to challenge everything, to push for constant improvement. Very intense leadership.
And speaking of change, John Cotter's Leading Change.
The 8-stage process. Very influential.
He emphasizes starting with urgency, building that guiding coalition.
Those first steps are critical if you don't get buy-in and momentum early.
It's tough. He points out how hard it is to sustain change against complacency. Need that persistent effort.
Yeah, implementation and follow-through are key, not just starting the change.
Okay, a really unique approach. Joseph Badaracco Jr.'s Questions of Character, using fiction to explore leadership ethics.
Fascinating idea. Using literature to delve into moral dilemmas.
He talks about a flexible moral code, like an old weathered tree versus something rigid. It pushes you to examine your own character.
Moves beyond easy answers into the gray areas, the real-world complexities.
Very thought-provoking. Then Annette Simmons' The Story Factor.
The power of narrative.
Absolutely. How stories inspire and influence far more than just facts often do.
But trust is key, right? Between the storyteller and the audience.
Definitely. She argues we're wired for stories, so leaders need to be good storytellers to connect, motivate, build understanding.
It's about that human connection, conveying meaning that sticks.
Right. Okay, Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In. Very impactful book.
Yeah, offering a pragmatic view for women navigating their careers.
Taking control of what you can change, even if the broader culture moves slowly. She shares her experiences from Google, Facebook.
Right. And it's not about acting like men. It's about challenging limiting beliefs, being assertive, pursuing ambitions.
A call for agency, really, for owning your path. Now, a landmark book, In Search of Excellence by Peters and Waterman.
Ah, the one that really kicked off the popular study of successful companies.
It shifted focus to the human variable, didn't it? The people as the fuel.
Embracing employees' quirks, their passions, their natural craziness, as they put it.
Like HP encouraging side projects back in the day, championing a more people-centered, innovative culture.
Yeah, empowering people, making work more engaging. Huge shift.
And then Jim Collins built on that kind of research with Good to Great.
The 5-year study. Can good companies become truly great sustainably?
He compared companies that made the leap with similar ones that didn't, looked for the differences.
And found specific practices they put in place before the leap, like level 5 leaders.
That mix of fierce will and personal humility. Ambitious for the company, not themselves.
And the hedgehog concept. That intersection of what you're best at, what drives your economics, and what you're passionate about.
Using Walgreens as a key example, it really provides a framework for understanding what separates the truly great from the merely good.
Very structured thinking about building enduring success.
Clayton Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma. This one's crucial for understanding change.
The difference between sustaining innovation, making existing things better, and disruptive innovation.
Right. Things that change the whole game. He uses the steel minimills example.
How successful companies doing everything right by existing standards can get blindsided by disruption.
Because the initial markets for disruptive tech are often small, unattractive to big players, until it's too late.
It's a vital read for understanding industry shifts. So counterintuitive sometimes.
Definitely. Okay, Michael Porter's competitive strategy, another foundational text.
Porter's frameworks are essential. Tools for any business to analyze its industry and find advantage. Still taught everywhere.
And Andy Grove's Only the Paranoid Survive. Love that title.
Huh. It's about navigating those huge crisis points, those strategic inflection points that can make or break a company.
He uses Intel's story, the need to constantly scan the horizon, be ready for massive shifts.
Never get complacent. That's the message.
Steve Cole's turnaround, stories of leaders saving companies.
Like Lou Gerstner at IBM. Great examples of leadership under pressure.
And it connects back to IBM's roots, right? Tom Watson Sr.'s beliefs.
Yeah.
Excellence, customer service, respect for the individual.
Shows how those core values can be an anchor. Even in crisis, a strong foundation matters.
Then, execution by Bossidy and Sharon, making strategy actually happen.
Bridging that gap between planning and doing. They argue execution is a specific discipline, a set of behaviors.
Not just something that happens automatically. It needs focus, technique, essential for competitive advantage.
Because the best strategy is useless if you can't execute it. Simple as that.
Hamill and Prahalad's competing for the future, challenging short-term thinking.
Right. Arguing that incrementalism isn't enough. You need to create new competitive space.
Not just defend your current turf. Look ahead, shape the future market. More proactive, more imaginative strategy.
Thinking bigger, longer term.
Chris Zook's Beyond the Core. About expanding, but smartly.
Making adjacent moves. Expanding into related areas, leveraging your core strengths.
But first you have to be honest about the health of your core business, right?
Absolutely. Can't build on a shaky foundation. It's a more focused, maybe less risky way to grow.
Okay, shifting to influence. Robert Cialdini's influence. The psychology of persuasion.
Ah, the mental shortcuts. How our brains make decisions. Fascinating stuff.
Principles like reciprocity, feeling obliged to return favors, commitment and consistency sticking with our choices.
Hugely powerful drivers of behavior. Understanding them helps in negotiation, sales, everywhere.
But he warns they can be exploited too. Need to be aware of that ethical line.
For sure. It's about understanding human psychology.
Positioning by Rees and Trout. Getting your product into the customer's mind.
In today's noisy world, that's the battleground. The mind.
They talk about the oversimplified mind. We filter out most messages, so your positioning needs to be sharp, clear, memorable.
Cut through the clutter. Find that unique spot.
Alina Wheeler's The Soul of a Brand. Authenticity again.
Yeah, arguing that great brands need a real soul or heart. They usually start with a great product or service.
Marketing can't fix a fundamental lack of substance. It has to be genuine to resonate long-term.
Build the brand from a core of real value.
Harry Beckwith's What Clients Love. Focusing on service delivery.
Saying the quality of the service itself matters more than the marketing hype. Seems obvious, but
Easy to forget. He stresses basics. Define your business, position it, understand prospects, communicate clearly, back to fundamentals.
delivering exceptional value consistently. That builds loyalty.
Marty Neumeier's Zag. Being different
When everyone else zigs, you zag. Creating that differentiated brand.
requires focus, appealing to a specific niche, not trying to be everything to everyone. Stand out by being unique.
Amplify your difference. Make it your strength.
Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm. Specific to tech marketing.
Selling to the mainstream, not just early adopters. That's the chasm. It's a different ballgame.
He advises targeting a beachhead, a niche within the mainstream to gain traction first. Crucial for tech adoption cycles.
Understanding those different customer segments is key.
Zig Ziglar. Secrets of Closing the Sale. Pure motivation and practical sales advice.
Zig was legendary. So much energy and wisdom. Emphasized the human side of selling.
Great quotes like, "You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great," or "People don't like to be sold, but they love to buy."
Focus on trust, value, the customer's needs. Win-win.
Paco Underhill's Why We Buy. What happens inside the store?
The science of shopping. He observed people, how they move, what they touch.
Found that engaging shoppers, listening to them, The longer they stay, the more they buy. Simple correlation. So make the experience good.
Understand the shopper's psychology in that environment.
Pine and Gilmore's the experience economy. Customers wanting more than just stuff.
They want memorable experiences, like Hard Rock Cafe, Disney. They create theater.
It's about staging experiences, not just delivering services or goods, moving up the value chain.
Creating value that's emotional, memorable.
Nancy Duarte's resonate. How you tell the story matters.
Right. Visuals, sound, delivery, structure. It all contributes to making the message resonate, truly connect. Turning listeners into active participants. Powerful communication.
Seth Godin's Purple Cow. Create something remarkable.
Something worth talking about. A product or service so unique, it stands out like a purple cow.
He argues being safe, being boring is the real risk today. Better to be remarkable.
Designed for word of mouth, make something people want to share.
Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point. How ideas spread like epidemics.
The 3 factors. Law of the few, Maven's connector salesman. The stickiness factor is the idea memorable. And the power of context.
Like the NYC subway graffiti example. Changing the environment changed behavioral. Understanding those dynamics of social influence.
How things catch on. Fascinating.
Jeffrey Gitomer's Little Red Book of Selling. More practical sales wisdom.
Very direct, streetwise advice. Like Ziglar, focuses on relationships, customer needs.
People don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. That theme again. Make it a positive experience for them.
Focus on helping the customer achieve their goals.
Charles Whelan's Naked Economics. Making economics less scary.
Yeah, stripping away the jargon, the complex math. Focusing on core ideas anyone can grasp. Very accessible.
And Financial Intelligence by Berman and Knight. Making numbers understandable for non-finance folks.
Crucial skill. Understanding income statements, balance sheets, how business performance is measured.
They explain basics like the matching principle clearly, empowering everyone to understand the financial side.
So you can make better informed decisions, whatever your role.
Peter Drucker again, his magnum opus, management, tasks, responsibilities, practices.
The comprehensive guide, so much wisdom in there. His core assertion, economic performance is primary.
W. Edward Deming's Out of the Crisis, quality improvement guru.
His 14 points for management. Big emphasis on people in the process and management's control over quality.
Taiichi Ohno's Toyota Production System. Lean thinking's origin.
The absolute elimination of waste. Waste of time, movement, inventory, everything. Relentless efficiency.
Eliyahu Goldratt's The Goal. Learning the theory of constraints through a novel.
Finding and managing bottlenecks. A really engaging way to learn a complex idea. Focus on throughput.
John Case's Open Book Management, sharing the financials with employees.
Fostering ownership, engagement. SRC Holdings is the prime example of how well it can work. Transparency builds trust.
First, Break All the Rules by Buckingham and Kaufman. What great managers do differently.
Based on massive Gallup research. Key finding. Focus on strengths. Don't just try to fix weaknesses. Develop what's already good.
And the follow-up, now Discover Your Strengths by Buckingham and Clifton.
Emphasizing that people get the most satisfaction, perform best when using their strengths. But globally, many don't get that chance.
Such a gap between potential and reality there.
Yeah, huge opportunity cost.
The Knowing Doing Gap by Pfeffer and Sutton. Why smart companies don't always act smart.
That disconnect between knowing what to do and actually doing it. Common barriers. Bad communication. Fear. Rigid culture.
Patrick Lencioni's The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. A leadership fable.
Absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoiding accountability, inattention to results, all interconnected. A great model.
Edward de Bono's 6 Thinking Hats. Simple but brilliant meting tool.
Assigning thinking roles, hats, to structure discussion. Improves focus, gets everyone participating in different ways. Very practical.
The Team Handbook by Schultz, Joyner, and Streibel. A comprehensive team guide.
Really practical tools and techniques for building and leading effective teams. A go-to resource.
Ron Chernow's Titan, The Life of John D. Rockefeller Sr.
Deep dive into his ambition, his methods, the building of Standard Oil. Business history, biography.
Alfred P. Sloan Jr.'s My Years with General Motors, Shaping the Modern Corporation.
His ideas on structure management, foundational for GM's rise and for much of modern business practice.
Thomas J. Watson Sr.'s A Business and Its Beliefs, The IBM Way.
Emphasizing humanistic management, respect for the individual, core belief that shaped IBM's culture and success.
Mel Ziegler's The Republic of Tea, a charming entrepreneurial story.
More narrative, the genesis of a unique company. Insights into starting something new, building a brand.
David Gage's The Partnership Charter, Navigating Business Partnerships.
Such unique dynamics. Need clear agreements up front. This book helps structure that.
Paul Hawkins' Growing a Business, focus on the why.
Seeing business as an extension of yourself. And trade skill. Deeply understanding your customers.
J. Conrad Levinson's Guerrilla Marketing, big impact, small budget.
Creative, inexpensive strategies for small businesses. Emphasizes persistence, basic people skills, still relevant.
Randy Commissar's The Monk in the Riddle, meaning in work and life.
A pseudo-memoir exploring that integration. What's the real point of the work we do?
Eric Ray's The Lean Startup, methodology for testing ideas.
Inspired by Toyota. Build, measure, learn loop. Focus on validated learning, not just ego metrics. Hugely influential.
Andrew Ross Sorkin's Too Big to Fail, The 2008 Financial Crisis.
Gripping insight account. The human pressure, the weighted decisions. Stark reminder of systemic risk.
Richard Preston's American Steel, Nucor, and the Minimill Revolution.
Great story of innovation, worker commitment, challenging the old guard in a tough industry, resilience and ingenuity.
Yeah.
And hey, remember, for more like this, check out our podcast series. Yeah, lots more explorations available there to keep the learning going. They offer diverse perspectives to spark more of those aha moments.
So, wrapping this up, it's clear these books offer, well, just a treasure trove of positive ideas, practical strategies.
All aimed at boosting professional success, but also personal fulfillment.
Themes keep emerging, don't they? Self-awareness, continuous learning, communication, leadership, creating value.
It's about integrating these insights into your own path, your own goals.
Right. Okay, so here's a final thought for you to chew on. What's the one single insight from all of this that really struck a chord with you today?
Just one thing that made you pause and think, okay.
And more importantly, how can you take that one specific idea and consciously apply it, like this week, to your own work, your own journey, to make a real difference?
Because even those small, deliberate steps, done consistently, they add up big time.
We really hope you'll subscribe to our podcast for more discussions like this. If you found this valuable, please share it with someone you think might benefit.
And if you want to grab any of these books, check the show notes for affiliate links. Purchasing through them helps us keep creating this content.
But most importantly, keep thinking critically. Take these ideas, wrestle with them, see how they fit your world, your career.
Your journey is unique. Use these tools to navigate it effectively, purposefully.